evening and welcome to this special show on the good, bad and the ugly side of the Finance Bill 2017. The government's effort to combat black money has found support from most quarters, especially provisions like limiting cash transactions to 2 lakh rupees and restricting high-value donations to political parties. But experts warn that the government might have gone too far in providing the taxman with unchecked powers to search, seize and attach properties. CNBC TV 18's Ashmit Kumar takes a look at the concerns raised by stakeholders.
The current government claims to espouse the virtues of accountability and transparency. However, tax experts warn that given the recent amendments to the IT Act, both have been given the go-by. The government, under the Finance Act of 2017, has undertaken sweeping amendments to the IT Act. Key among these amendments are the ones that bestow greater powers to the IT department, but according to experts, without the commensurate checks and balances. For instance, Section 132 of the IT Act deals with the power available to the taxman for search and seizure operations. Previously, the taxman would have to establish in writing the grounds for conducting such an operation by providing something called a satisfaction note. Not anymore, because Section 132 now has been amended to read, "The reason to believe, as recorded by the Income Tax Authority under this subsection, shall not be disclosed to any person or any authority or the appellate tribunal." This effectively means that the department is no longer obliged to present any reason to the assessee for conducting search and seizure operations. Experts warn that such unbridled powers, even where a mere suspicion could lead to search operations, would lead to rampant abuse. The concerns don't end there. Legal experts point out that the amendment protects the taxman from disclosing reasons even before a statutory tribunal. This, they say, flies in the face of constitutional safeguards, with an entire layer of appeal being rendered impotent, the IT-80 becoming redundant, and more litigation down the line. Tax experts are also not impressed with the retrospective nature of the amendment, because it dials the clock back to 1962 and makes these powers of search and seizure available for all pending cases. The other matter that has experts worried is over the new powers for attachment. Previously, during a search and seizure operation, the taxman had the power to only seize the books of accounts for closer inspection. Now, subsection 9B of section 132 empowers the taxman to attach any property belonging to the assessee. The clause also allows attachment for the purpose of protecting the interest of revenue, and this wording, some say, could lead to abuse. In New Delhi, Ashmit Kumar.
Okay, to discuss all of this, we are now joined by experts. With me is D.S. Saxena, former Principal Chief Commissioner of Income Tax in Mumbai, corporate tax lawyer, Mr. H.P. Ranina, CEO of Dhruva Advisors, Dinesh Kanabar, and former Additional Solicitor General, Biswajit Bhattacharya. Thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us here on this special show. Mr. Saxena, I would like to begin with you, sir, since you were very much involved till December of last year when you retired in some of these matters. I mean, you had the authority to approve, searches, which is essentially one of the subjects that we're discussing. What do you make of the changes in the Income Tax Act which have been made? There are 3 principal subjects that we are discussing. One is who can authorize a search. The allegation is that the amendments have given that power to junior officers, which was not available to them till now. The other is attachment. The fact that earlier you needed a court order for attachment, now you don't. And the third is reasons for the search don't have to be disclosed anymore to anyone. Those are essentially, things which people are citing and saying this gives the taxman too much power. How would you respond to each of these? If you can go one by one. Mr. Saxena, let's begin with you.
Yeah, firstly, I'll talk about the powers of search and seizure. Never was a court warrant required for an income tax search. The income tax searches were conducted by departmental officers after authorization from the principal director or principal commissioner, which had been approved by the Director General of Income Tax. So in this front, there is no change. The change which has been brought about is about attachment. Actually, earlier, after search, there was a power of attachment also. But this had been taken away around 10-12 years ago. But it was found that after search, the assessees were disposing of their properties, so this provision has been brought back. So these are the things on the ground. The situation remains the same. As regards disclosure of the reasons for search, even under the Evidence Act, the revenue authorities are authorized to protect their sources, and this amendment only protects it, because many a times tribunals and CIT appeals even were calling for the search file, which had a lot of sensitive information which was not to be disclosed. So it is in this context that this amendment has been brought about, and it has been brought about retrospectively, because it should cover the cases which are under appeal or before any judicial tribunal, except the High Court and Supreme Court, because High Court and Supreme Court have got all the powers to call for all the files, and we comply with them. But these things should not be disclosed before.
So just a couple of points there, Mr. Saxena. The first one was, you're saying that there is no change in terms of authority or issuing a warrant for a search, right? I mean, it is. You've gone through the amendments in the Finance Act, and you don't find that the changes which have been made gives that power to junior tax officers. It still has to go through senior officers, right? That is number one.
Just add one thing. The power under 133 that is calling for information has now been given to junior officers. That is the change which has been brought about. Probably this has been brought about in light of demonetization and all, because a vast amount of information is being called for, and previously it was to be approved at a higher level, but looking to the volume of information, it has been given to junior officers now. That is the change which has been made.
So does it still need to go through senior officers, or junior tax officers on the ground can take the call? I mean,
they can call for the information, not search. I want to make myself clear.
Okay. I mean, but that has already been happening, right? I mean, after demonetization, we've had letters going out, polite letters, I might add, in many cases. And then, I mean, people have been called in for questioning, etc. But searches, searches is what we're talking about. That still has to go through top officials, right? Commissioner or director level officials in the tax department. The second point is the point of attachment which you were talking about, and you were saying there is a change which has essentially been brought about, right? The point is, attachment was, I mean, as I understand it, there are two provisions, two powers of attachment. One is section 281B and the other is section 226(3). One provides for provisional attachment, the other provides for regular attachment. So, but this was already there, and this was being used, right? I mean, after searches, there was attachment being done. So what is really different is what I'm trying to understand.
Difference is that just after search, when the search is in progress or just after that, attachment can be made now. Earlier, when assessment was in progress, assessment could be in progress much later on. Only then some kind of attachment could be made.
So you're saying even provisional attachment was not could not be made till now? I mean,
no. Just after search, suppose during search, I find that the stock in trade is accessed by 10 crores. So I could not make attachment until the notices and all were issued. That is the change which has been made. Now, just after search or during search even, such kind of assessment, such kind of attachment can be made.
Okay. The last point about recording and sharing reasons to believe, right? Reason to believe. This is there anything which is new here which has been done? Because as I understand it, it was never shared with SSAs earlier. It was, in most cases, it was not shared with the appellate tribunal, the ITAT, and it was only shared at the level of the High Court, right?
Yeah. That was the situation on the ground.
Right.
But what was happening when the case came up before the tribunal, if we did not share, then they took an adverse view.
Against the Revenue Department? I mean, if they did not share the reason. Okay. Sure. Mr. Saxena, thank you very much for that. Thank you for providing that clarity. Please stay on the line, sir, if I may request you to. Let's open up the discussion and bring in our other guests as well. If I can come to you, Mr. Bhattacharya, you heard the former principal chief, commissioner of income tax in Mumbai. What do you make of some of these changes which have been made and which strike to you as something which should not have been done?
The main point is that reason to believe and the reason to suspect under section 132, which was earlier there, now the new law says that it shall not be disclosed to anyone or any authority or to the appellate tribunal. Now, appellate tribunal is the highest fact-finding body. If the income tax appellate tribunal or the assessee or to any authority is deprived of such a sensitive information, then I don't think this legislation can withstand judicial scrutiny, and this is a violation of principles of natural justice, likely to be struck down in my view.
Mr. Bhattacharya, just a quick point.
Has explained.
Just a quick point. In my conversation with former IT officials, part of the investigations team, etc. as well, I was told that it rarely happens. I mean, even till now, over the last, many decades actually, that the reason is actually shared with the SSC or the tribunal. I mean, that is the point that Mr. Saxena was making. That in some cases, very few cases, where the tribunal asks for reason and the department refuses to provide the reason, the tax department takes, the tribunal takes an adverse position. And that is the reason why it has been made explicit now. So in a way, is this essentially going from de facto to de jure? This was in practice anyway, it has just been put into the act now.
Well, it was malpractice. I would not say it was a practice. There is a line of distinction between practice and malpractice. Now, if you are exercising powers under Chapter 13 of the Income Tax Act, there are sweeping powers. If you kindly go through the sections starting from section 116 up to 138, that income tax authorities, their jurisdiction, their powers, and particularly 132, 133, etc., search, seizure. Now, these are very sweeping powers. And the reason given in the finance bill is that certain judicial decisions were causing confusion. Now, which judicial decision was causing confusion? Nothing has been mentioned. But this is a fundamental principle of any civilized jurisprudence in any democracy.
Got it, sir.
That if you are searching and seizing certain documents, you are entering somebody's house.
You should provide the reason. Got it.
You are under the law. You are prohibited from disclosing the information to.
No, fair enough. I'll just come back to you. Let me just get first thoughts from Mr. Kanabar as well. Mr. Kanabar, would you like to come in with sir? Your comments on what you've heard so far?
So first, there is a Supreme Court judgment in the case of Spacewood Furnitures, where a question came in as to whether the tax authorities are required to provide reasons why they carried out a particular search and seizure operation to the SSE. And the Supreme Court held that there is no obligation in law for the tax authorities ever to provide a reason to the SSE as to why a search is being carried out, because that would vitiate the very purpose why a search is being carried out. In that judgment, the Supreme Court observed that, however, it may be that in the case of assessment proceedings, so a search is followed by an assessment of income, and in the course of assessment proceedings, it is possible that an assessee can ask for, and he would then be entitled to be given the reasons as to why the search was carried out. The Supreme Court was not dealing really with the matter as to whether an assessee was entitled to or not entitled to information in the course of assessment proceeding. It was concerned as to whether in the course of the search an assessee is entitled to. Supreme Court said you are not entitled to, but you could be entitled to in the course of assessment proceedings. And this judgment seeks to negate this Supreme Court judgment and say that neither an assessee nor a commissioner of appeals nor a tribunal can look at the reasons why it is happening. It is only a court which would thereafter be entitled to question the reasons as to why a search was carried out, whether there were adequate reasons recorded in writing or not, number one. Incidentally, there is a Supreme Court judgment, again an old judgment, rendered way back in 1974 in the case of Puranmal, where in fact the Supreme Court has gone on to hold that even if the reasons which are recorded are not adequate or genuine, that does not vitiate a search. However, that could vitiate an assessment proceeding thereafter. So that was one point. And there again, really the issue to concern is that if the reasons are kept back until the court, it goes to a court, every time an assessee suspects that a search is being carried out only for reasons which are not genuine or extraneous, he will have to rush to a court and file a writ petition. That is one.
Got it, sir.
The second point, Prashant, is...
Mr. Kanabar, I'm being told that I have to take a break, so I'll request you to just hold that thought. I'm just going to come back. Mr. Ranina, I'm just going to come straight back to you, but allow me to take a very quick commercial break, which I have to. Just coming back with all of you on the other side.